Hello, everyone. Welcome to the kitchen of reality cooking television. I don't know. It's late,
the,
but
the the place where the recipes of reality are cooked to perfection.
but maybe not
They're,
this week. We will be cooking
well,
quite a recipe of a conversation. But man, I mean, I was excited. I've been in the midst of catching up on Big Brother, and I was excited. Last week's episode was so good, and that's what we were originally going to podcast about earlier today, going into the swap. But I think it's more fun now that it has swapped to kind of talk about it because a lot of the dynamics, like Kelly and
dynamic
Brando
is
being in the middle of their
huge.
tribe, meant nothing right now because they're on different tribes. The Lulu three are all split up, so it's like kind of nice to talk about it post swap. But I think the main topic of conversation we'll get to is this in a sec. Is this most recent episode of Survivor? And ready spoilers coming in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The fact that there was another quit on the season, that's 2 in the span of 4 episodes. It's really hard to decipher whether or not it's a quit. And honestly, before we went live, I was trying to like piece together these
Yeah,
graphics, and I put up our graphic for fantasy breaking down everyone's points this episode. And Sean gets 0 points because he survived 2 days. He got the episode title, but then he also had 3 votes against, so it equals out to 0. But then that question mark at the bottom, is it a quit? And we'll have to talk to Austin and Ingrid once they watch the episode and actually decipher whether or not it is, because he technically did get voted out.
it's
And
true.
if he does play a shot in the dark, and like there's a way he could have stayed today, even after the voting, if he had played a shot in the dark, if he had an idol. So it's not a quit proper, like even like Hannah's was, where everyone just kind
It's
of
like
agreed.
an asterisk. It's
Right,
like
because and that's a question I want to ask you. Do you think this was legit? Like, do you think he actually wanted to go home, and everyone
yeah.
and Jay, Maya, and Julie actually flipped to vote him? Because we saw D go through the plan to go Sifu, but do we think that they
Well,
genuinely
and
wanted to get
I have
rid
thoughts
of?
on that too.
Yeah,
I have thoughts
do
on
you
that
think they
too.
genuinely wanted to get rid of Sean in that moment because he had asked to get voted out, or do you think he was always the plan? Because it
You
doesn't
know,
seem like he was always the plan. Because D made it very clear that the plan was Sifu because she went through with the plan. Jay, Maya, and Julie swapped, and then the question is, if that wasn't a play, did he play it up to? If that was a play, I mean, because the whole thing Julie tells him before tribal is like, play it up that you're going home, and then we'll blindside Sifu. But do you think maybe he played it up too much to where people actually he himself kind of fell into the whole mindset of, oh, maybe I actually do want to go home? Do
I
you think this
think
whole idea of let's make it a blindside and play it up that you're going home actually worked against that and kind of put Sean in that mental state?
I mean, I think that I think that someone goes into the mindset of a tribal. If they want to go home, they're gonna go all in on that. Because the thing is,
Mhm.
if you're trying to play up like you're going home, then what you do is you say like, I feel like the vote is me, but like I'm really not ready for my time here to be over. Like I'm really not ready
Mhm.
to walk home empty handed. And I think that we've seen that. We've seen people who like kind of sorry that my computer is bouncing.
Yeah. People who know they're going
Who
home, but like beg and plead, or
right
they're at
and
least accepting of it. Like Ricard, for example, Final Five, he knew he was going home at that point in
right,
41, but he wasn't gonna fight to stay because he knew it. He's like, I'm gonna
right,
go home. I know it. And then Jeff asks the question, what has Survivor
right.
meant to you? And he has this long speech, but he's never once saying, it's okay, guys, vote me out.
Well,
And I think that's what transitioned from Sean to
yeah, and I
saying, "Oh, I'm at peace with it," which would have been the play if they were blindsiding Sifu to say, "I'm at peace with it," and then go through with Sifu.
right.
But then he transitions to, "I want you to vote me out," and that's where
And
the lines blur
and
a
I
little.
And I think that if he really was, if it's a play, it's a bad play. That is what it is. It's a play that's so horrific it'll go down in the Survivor playbooks as one
Mhm.
of the worst moves of all time.
Yeah, and we don't know
Um,
yet. His interviews are tomorrow.
and
We will find out the
right,
truth if he legitimately. And I think the thing that sold the deal though is after the credits rolled and he was talking, he said, "Me quitting," and that's where I'm like, "Oh, so is it a quit? Is it not? Because you did get voted out. There was potential because
right.
Julie and Jay Maya could have voted Sifu and just
Well,
have Sean in anyway.
I think logistically, and again, this will be an Austin and Ingrid conversation as well. I think logistically, it's not a quit
Mhm.
because the tribe followed through as normal. It was a normal like the
It was a vote.
the option to vote for others besides Sean was not only there, it was taken, and therefore emotionally and mentally it might be a quit for him, but logistically in terms of the game it's not a quit. That's the other I think that people, Twitter's losing their mind because people are
Mhm.
very upset at the fact that we are seeing 2 quits in 4 episodes.
Mhm.
So half of our
Pre-jury so far.
well all 4 of our pre-jury are all original Lulus, and 2 of the 4 original Lulus are technical quits. And the thing is, I mean, again, I feel like we say this every single time. It's not okay to bully people. It's not okay to call them trash and to call, you know, you don't, it's very easy to third base coach from your couch, and behind the keyboard of a phone when you're not the one playing. And, you know, like this is something, it's funny because you and I, you know, his whole thing about wanting to see his husband and wanting to see, you know, the person that he loves most. You know, you and I are friends, are close people. We often joke that my segment on Big Brother is about, like, my fun segment is like how many times I say Rachel's names, how many times I say Rachel's name, how many times I say my wife. But, you know, like, that's something that, like, her and I frequently talk about. Like, what happens if one of us was lucky enough to get that opportunity? You know, we leave, but we understand that, like, we're either all in or we're coming back empty-handed. And so I think, you know, you don't really understand the mental turmoil that someone probably goes through. That being said, that is something that, and you know, we have a very cool opportunity now where, like, we have a very good look at, we have a really good look at, like, the Survivor casting process, because there's this whole article that came out where, like, Jeff pretty much heavily details, like, exactly what occurs. And, you know, part of it is a personality test and part of it is a mental examination. These are things that come up, like, you know, so I would say if you're upset with Sean, be less upset with Sean and be more upset with the person that let him go through to be cast.
Exactly.
And the same thing with Hannah. I mean, you know, you can't blame people for quitting. You can blame people for seeing a quitter and going, yeah, but we'll put them on the show because they'll be good TV until they quit.
The only part that I'm really struggling with is that, and I think honestly, Sean's what he did today almost makes me even more not annoyed, but frustrated than even Hannah's. Hannah,
oh well, yes, it's more frustrating
episode.
than Hannah's.
Well,
it's way more frustrating than Hannah's.
Yes, because it was the first episode, and she was looking at 5 other people, and she was saying, "I want to give you 5 that opportunity." Here, Sean has already taken an opportunity from Brandon. And from Sabaya. And I think that's another thing. And I know he didn't control the vote last week with Sabaya, but if he had ever had an inkling that he wanted to quit, then he would have done it probably last week or the week before. But I genuinely don't think he thought of it until this episode and this week. But then also I'm thinking...
also makes it even more frustrating.
And he tried to make it a noble thing of, I want you guys to play the game. Because he probably knew, if I don't quit, Sifu goes home. And Sifu really, really wants to be here. But at the end of the day... I'd like to believe if he was on a tribe that won, he wouldn't quit. So it's like almost like it almost comes across as, and again, I'm not trying to bully or say anything negative, but it's like almost bad sportsmanship of, I keep losing, so I'm just gonna go home. Like, I think don't love that mentality, because it's like, yes, you're giving the 4 Reba, like, you have the opportunity to be Reba strong, but look at Brandon, who's at Ponderosa right now, or Sabaya, who are just probably dying to be there. And now Sean took that away. Now Hannah, yes, she took that away from someone who didn't get cast or an alternate, but at least she kept the 5 people in the game. Here, Sean has already gone through for tribal council, surviving, taking opportunities of survival, and now is kind of backtracking. And that's what frustrated me, because I just really, you know, it just really frustrates me.
It's like looking at it from a lens of, and this is again two ends of the two opposite ends of a very severe spectrum. You know, like, look at someone like Luke. You know, Luke took an opportunity away from Big Brother like a Big Brother casting opportunity away from someone who is not problematic, someone who really wants to play the game, someone who probably went in with like would have gone in with like a very high octane strategy, and he takes that opportunity away almost a week into the game because he can't control the way that he says things. You know, that's a person, and again, it's not about bullying. That's a person who maybe deserves the heat that they get. That's someone who in a real life situation is showing, I'm not a good person. I'm not the person I say I am. Whereas like Hannah and Sean look at the situation, because I can't even understand, you know, from a standpoint, you and I, of like playing an online version of Survivor. People quit online Survivor all the time. They quit all the time. Things come up. Your life gets in the way, and we understand that. But I'll use a real example, right? Someone who I know quit, you know, literally on the first day of a game that they just were playing. But in my scenario of the game that I was voted out of, First vote out ever. 65 tribals survived. Never been voted out until the 65th one. Someone quit the game just because of personal reasons, and also they were not about what was happening and the way that people were talking, and that was not well received. That was not well received by people. People were upset about it. People were like, that's an opportunity taken away from someone who maybe would have played the season fully out. And it's that online version translated to on screen. I mean, we just fill out a fun little Google form and do, maybe an online interview. But these guys, people go through weeks, days, almost like 2-3 months of vigorous interviews and whatnot. And to just see someone kind of walk away from it and being like, I've made my peace with it, walking away, like, it's just frustrating because that's someone who people put time and effort into rooting for. And now, it's just one of those things where you look at it and you go, how do I try now? Like for us, for you and I, like when we do our preseason interviews or preseason, what's it called? Our kind of like breakdowns and our assessments, now we have to start taking into account like, oh, who's most likely to quit? Like, that's not great. That's not fun. I cannot hear you at all. On filling time. But yeah, for real. I mean, this is one of those things where it's just me. Maybe it's just nope, can't hear you at all. That's not great. Cool. I'm gonna riff. So I mean, we can also talk a little bit about last week. I mean, the big thing to keep in mind and keep in consideration, a lot of the flack has been falling on Emily and Caleb. Emily and Caleb, who are making a really, really strong, unassuming social duo, and Emily like kind of attributing her social growth and awareness to Caleb is a really, really awesome moment. Emily had a lot of growth this episode, and I can't believe I'm saying it. I kind of really liked it. I was wishing, hoping, and kind of like praying a little bit to kind of watch her in a scenario where like she's looking for heat, or not looking for heat, but where she's more in the heat, like at a tribal without all of her allies. How does she navigate? Because I think that will be something interesting to see kind of as we move our way into there are two Dylans.
Am I good now?
Now I can hear you.
Okay, great.
That was so strange.
I don't know what happened.
I don't know what happened either. Yeah, I'm talking about Emily right now. I'm talking about Emily, and I'm talking about
really quickly.
Caleb a little bit.
Last thing about Sean though, before we move on to other stuff, is just the online reality game community. It's online, and there's like a thing of, oh, if you quit, days still go on. Like it's just an online game, and I don't want to diminish that, but like this is
it is just an online. It's an online
process.
Game. It's an online game.
Yes, I think that's the difference between Sean and but you make a good point, obviously, but it's just a little frustrating given the fact that
the point isn't. The point isn't it's the same. The point is people are upset when people quit in online Survivor. Gotcha. So imagine the feeling of like, again, like, how much, we don't know how much Sabaya and Brandon know prior to this, but like, imagine finding out after being voted out of a tribe.
Oh, I'm sure Sean told them, because like, the pre-jurors have their own little Ponderosa where they have to wait it out because they can't go right home. So Sean definitely told them.
Imagine finding out, like, as Sean walks in, like, that's someone who, and it's one of those things where, like, if you are on opposite tribes, you might be a little frustrated. That's someone who voted both of them out. That's someone who voted them out, actively had a hand in ending their game a little too early. And at especially like, well, yes. And then, whether or not he voted for Sabaya, I still think like you have a hand in sending somebody home.
Right. You survived a tribal, they didn't.
Right. So it's one of those things where I think that's the hardest thing when you take away an opportunity, because Hannah took an opportunity away from someone, but the game hadn't really begun yet. Right. CBS kind of could have decided like, hey, well, you know what? We will have an alternate come on and step in. And, we'll just kind of, we'll make one more episode. It's one more episode, or we'll just have like a double tribe.
Well,
like they could have done.
The problem is, and also it's like Survivor. That's day 3 still though, so it's been 3 days. Right. And I think that's another tough thing too. Is I know you said also like you don't know the whole thing like with you and your wife. If one of you goes to play Big Brother and one of you stays home, the difference is Big Brother's 100 days now. Survivor is now even shorter than it used to be. It wasn't
right. It's shorter than it was.
You literally only have to survive. Literally for pre-juror, like all you have to do is make it a week or two. Right now we're at day 9, so a little over a week. Sean's only been there for 9 days, and the thing is, he had fire this episode. That's another thing too. It's not like they kept losing and still had nothing. It's not like he was still on Lulu. He had stuff now. He had fire. He had a potential to have a winning tribe, and we'll talk about it in a sec whether getting rid of Sifu was even the right move. And that's
it's not.
Let's transition to that because the plan going into this tribal, and this is how I fully thought this tribal was going down. I thought earlier in the episode when J Maya and Sean were tight, I was worried they were going to say we got to split that up and maybe target J Maya, but once J Maya started talking to the girls, they were legitimately ready to go after Sifu. And I really think it's because they know the merge is coming soon. And yes, they could keep losing, but also they've already swapped, so they could swap again. And the fact that the merge is coming up soon, do you want to pairing someone like Sifu to the merge or someone like Sean in the merge? And they much rather want someone like Sean in the merge. Yes, you might lose the next few challenges, which I think is still going to happen even with Sifu, but that was their plan. Now, here's the thinking, though, and this is where Julie and J Maya end up going back on it. D is the one who followed through with it, which I thought was interesting because J Maya is the one who first posed the idea of Sifu, and because Julie this whole time was not biting, she gave in, D gave in, but then D is the one who ultimately follows through. Is this a bad read on D in terms of she was so willing to stick with the plan that she didn't put Sean's personal needs first?
Right.
Or was this on Julie and J Maya for not going through with the blind side? And now the question is, with this quit or no quit, Sean now exposed a lot of cracks because now D is probably frustrated that she had to get the blood on her hands and Julie and J Maya are getting off scot-free. But all D can say is J Maya was the one who did it, Sifu.
Right.
Now Sifu's out for blood. What do you think about this?
Well, so I think that as a whole, when someone is asking to be voted out of the game, vote them out of the game. For real. Vote them out. Get rid of them. Not because of anything in particular, like they don't deserve to be there or anything like that. But when someone is asking you to write their name down, and as far as I'm concerned, that is a free pass at an easy night, an easy tribal, and another opportunity to not only build connections and make them even stronger between the people you feel good with, but to get a further read on someone and their cracks and their messes. D. Now, I'm interested to see what happens in this next episode. I'm interested to see if D did it on purpose and kind of is like in the mindset of like, I want to frame J Maya for it. She was so gung ho about it, and I want to take the heat off of me, but I really wanted to kind of like blow some stuff up. Mm-hmm. And if it is that, I mean, I think it's extra, but if she could pull it off, it'll be a really cool move.
And I don't think it was because she legitimately seemed surprised in the moment, and she seemed very happy voting his name down. And that's the one thing I kept thinking about when she went up and wrote Sifu's name, because you see her write Sifu's name. They showed her vote. I was fully thinking, oh, this whole Sean thing was a ruse.
Is all a ruse, and we're gonna see
if they do go with Sifu, I think that is one of the more brilliant social masks. And if Sean pulls that off, that's great. But the minute Sean went home, and then in his voting thing at the end, or his elimination thing, he said quit. I was like, so this wasn't kind of what that was. But if he pulls that off and Sifu does go, then that I think is an epic blindside. Now the question is it a good move? I don't know, considering the other tribes you're going up against with Austin and Drew on one, and then another tribe with Caleb, Bruce, Jake, and Kelly and Jake. Like that is, you're already facing an uphill battle. And I think right now they need Sifu.
I think the thing is also if D ends up walking out of this and kind of pulling off a really, really good move, like if she is able to overcome the misstep, then I'll be even more sold on her as a player. What I think is the problem is that, like, again, when you're offered something on a silver platter and you say, nah, no thanks, I'll take the takeout instead. Like, I think you get what you pay for, and that's sort of what she's about to do. The good thing for her, I think, unfortunately for me, because he's on my team, is I think Sifu is so messy that I think that she kind of if there was someone she could afford to do this to, it was probably him, because he will probably talk a little too much and try a little too hard to gun for her or to figure out who did it, and it will become so obsessive and so like he doesn't really, whether or not he wants to, whether or not they agree, like J Maya and Julie agree with Sifu, J Maya and Julie, and whether or not they agree with what D did, they can still, they are the majority. They are the majority. All they have to both do is they both have to just decide on one person. They can decide on D. They can decide on Sifu. Doesn't really matter because he knows they know they know whoever, if Sifu does discover that it was D, and if D really continues to push Sifu, I mean, I'm gonna tell you, like, it's not one of those things. Sifu and D can join up, but it's just a 2-2 vote.
But
And
here's the thing: is I don't even think D is the one who was pushing Sifu. It was Maya who was pushing it. I think D is just the one who didn't really know. Are we still going with Sifu or are we going with Sean? I
Right.
really think because Julie and D was shown to be the duo, and we saw that a lot last episode when they were like when they took the machete from the boys, and it was like, are we going to give it to them or are we going to hide it
Right.
for ourselves? And they ultimately did give it to them. Austin found the idol and they built trust. But I really think Julie and D are closer than Julie and J Maya. So I really think D is going to be fine. I think D is not going to be great with Sifu, but I think going forward, I still think Julie's going to have her back. Even if they get rid of Sifu and they lose again, I still think Julie and D vote together against J Maya. I think J Maya is definitely third on the totem pole. If we're looking at that, I think it's Julie and D, and then J Maya, and then Sifu, which is D is the one who voted incorrectly. But I still think, I think
so. Then replace J Maya with D, and then it doesn't really. It's still the same thing. They control the majority. I mean, they get to decide how this next vote goes, and then they sit in the best possible position right now because if regardless, I mean, whether or not they decide to, the only thing that puts them in a tough spot is if Sifu or J Maya finds an idol. And then, but even still, like, they would need to feel confident enough that, like, let's say Sifu finds the idol. Sifu would need to feel confident enough that he's not going home on that first vote. They all vote together and they vote out J Maya, and then Sifu uses the idol at the next tribal that they're at, and he determines who goes home. But I don't think we're going to see that. I think that the thing is, the two of them are probably set until merge or another swap.
And we also know the Reba idol's with Austin, so there's not an idol on that beach because Austin's already gotten it. So I think that's another safety blanket because Julie and D know that he has the idol, and J Maya doesn't. So I think that's also an extra leg up of, yes, we can use J Maya, just get rid of Sifu next vote because we know he doesn't have anything. But Julie's the one I'm not worried about, but I'm thinking could potentially flip and keep Sifu and not J Maya because she talks so much in this episode about tribe strength.
Right.
So I really think there could be a world where next tribal, and we'll talk about it in our rankings tonight, but like if they decide that tribe strength is the priority, then D and Julie vote out J Maya. But I really think D and Julie are okay. Yeah.
I also think the big thing is like getting rid of Sifu is the wrong move. Would have been the wrong move. To this where they're at now. Right. Listen, because we're at what? We're at 14 now.
Yes, we're at 14 and we're probably merging it. We're probably merging at 12. We're probably going to do the 6-6 mergatory at 12. So you have to go through at least 2 more rounds, basically.
And like again, you get rid of Sifu. You get rid of Sifu and you build tribe, like, you get rid of him and it's this cool, awesome move. Great. You go back to tribal at least 2 more times. You're not beating any other tribe. So what then the thing is, like, you get rid of Sifu. Let's say they got rid of Sean next. They're in a group of 3. They're at that last tribal, whoever they get rid of, it doesn't really matter. Let's say that it is D and Julia. D and Julia now are a duo. To everybody else, they're sticking together. They're like this. And that's easy fodder right at the merge. That is the easiest reason to vote somebody out. It's clear they're a duo. We split the vote at merge. We figure out, and as long, or even more so, if either D or Julie wins immunity, great, even easier. Full tribe vote. Like, I think that's they're thinking get rid of Sifu because he'll be hard to beat at merge. What they should be thinking is keep Sifu around because Sifu will be the most frustrating person at merge and more than likely is going to be the person everybody's looking at, and then he'll hide us. Because right now they're thinking get rid of Sifu because we need to make sure that people like him are gone at merge, when in reality he's their best ticket to like having a pretty simple merge, at least early merge, because then people will look at Sifu, people will look at Austin, people will look at Jake, Drew. They're gonna look at the big threats for Caleb. Caleb after this episode, I'm curious to see what happens as he doesn't end up, because
let's
I don't think
transition
they're
to
ever
that
going to
tribe.
try.
Yeah, because we've talked a lot about Reba, and now let's talk about the new Lulu. This is the tribe that was on the outs that is now stronger because it's 4 Bello and 1 previous Lulu. I'll lean a little this way so you can see me, but yeah, we got 4 Bello, 1 Lulu here. But it seemed like this whole episode, it was not Caleb on the outs, but Caleb kind of
No.
trying to find the cracks, which I thought was really interesting. I think Kelly looked great in this episode, being the narrator and kind of like seeming like she was kind of the one overseeing this tribe dynamic. I think Jake looked fine in this episode, obviously making a great social bond with Caleb. The big focus seems to be Bruce and Keturah, and I'm getting a little worried that this is kind of the only storyline for Bruce and Keturah. And luckily, we got that great scene of Bruce kind of reflecting on his previous experience and kind of getting emotional. That was an extra thing for Bruce. But what
with
else
some fun cameo for
Carson?
Carson. Wonderful. Good to see Carson.
But I'm a little worried that it's becoming almost. This honestly reminds me of Ellie and Gabler, where it was just so one-sided.
Yeah, I thought about that.
Ellie hated Gabler. And then at the merge, you know what happened? They got rid of Ellie because she was vocally going after Gabler. That is my worry for Keturah right now, is that if she keeps this going and Caleb doesn't jump with her, then she could end up being the merge vote, or maybe she gets Caleb to work with her and then Bruce is the merge vote. Either way, I agree with you. I don't see this tribe losing, but I think if they do lose, or once we get to a merge scenario, I think that's going to be where we see Keturah versus Bruce. I don't see how both of them make it further than like final 10, because I just think
I agree with you.
And it seems like Bruce is now finally picking up on the other end, because it used to be very one-sided. Now today, for the first time, we've heard Bruce speak and say, yo, when Keturah put her hand up and said, no, I want to hear it from Caleb, that signaled to me that she's not trusting me. And you know what? Right. It's reciprocated. So I think that's important that we've heard Bruce's end, because now we know it's not necessarily one-sided and that this could be a legitimate rivalry come merge. But I agree. I don't think they're losing. But what are your thoughts on this new dynamic?
I think it's great. I mean, like, I'm happy about it. I like Caleb a lot. I think Caleb's a good player. I mean, again, it was one of those things. You and I both kind of are high on Caleb. I like this. I like this side of Caleb because I think it's better for my read on him as a villain. Like the fact that he came in and was like, you know what? I could think about how I'm on the outs, but instead of thinking about that, I'm going to find out where they all hate each other. And like, I think that's really cool because, you know, he gets to bond with Jake. Kelly and Jake have a pretty good relationship, which is awesome. That's a really, really tight 3, and probably an unexpected tight 3 going into the merge, especially considering like Kelly and Jake together pulling in Caleb, and then Caleb maybe being able to pull in Emily as a 4 would be.
And Emily's already got 2 guys over there, so that could be your 6.
How, bro? She's growing on me. I will say that. She's growing on me for sure.
I was going to say, you want to transition to that?
Yeah, we can.
Because here, Emily, it seems to be in the middle. We thought she'd be the odd one out, but it looks like Brando and Kendra and Austin and Drew, and it's a question of where's Emily going to go, and it seems like Austin and Drew want to work with Emily. I think Emily and Drew have very similar minds for this game, where it's very logical. Right. It's very brain-centric more than emotional-centric.
Very honest, very cut.
But the difference is...
cut and dry.
Yeah, the difference is, though, Emily has already gone through a lot of the social growth that if she is at the end with Drew, who I think will play maybe a more flashy game strategically, I think right now she has a better ability to connect to people than even Drew does. Right. And maybe even Austin does, because Austin's a little quiet. So I really think this is probably the best scenario for Emily, because she is now 1 on a tribe of 5 that has 2 duos. And Brando and Kendra weren't ever really that tight. Brando was working with everyone on that side, but Kendra and Jake were tight. Kendra and Brando weren't really tight. So there's really like a lot of power to being able to not only align with Austin and Drew, who are strong, but align with Austin and Drew, who are aligned, have 2 girls on Reba. They have Julie and Dee, and they have an idol. They have the safety without power, and they have the goodwill advantage, I think it's called. So like, Emily is not only getting allies, but she's getting ammunition to add to her arsenal. Yeah. And I still think come merge, she's shielded by these 2 guys now, and Caleb. Like, she's really setting herself up well. So I want to hear what your thoughts are as someone who was a previous Emily hater.
I'm still an Emily not liker. But I will say, I was saying as you were doing your thing, we're getting back on camera. Emily's growing on me. I like that her story is not just her being this very like brash, like honesty is great, but honesty isn't always better than just like kindness. So what I did like a lot about this episode is I like that there's an acknowledgement of like her social growth. Like she's acknowledging that like in this
Mhm.
game she is real, and she credited it a lot to Caleb, which I thought was a really really great a great moment for her, because again it's one of those things where like one of the first things we see of her is her acknowledging the fact that like Bruce is like we all know who Bruce is, and like that was such an immediate and clear attack. Um, and to go from kind of like that first impression to this is
Mhm.
it's very not a very nice breath of fresh
Yeah,
air.
and Drew even
Do I
commented on it. Drew was like, "I was expecting her to be this bitch, but she's awesome." And I
well
really think that goes to show how well she's progressed in the past few days. Because episode 2, she immediately goes to like this emotional, crying Emily who wants to change, and then episode 3, she says, "Hey, let me show you I'm loyal, Caleb. Let's
right.
blindside Sabaya." Like she's done so much growing in just 3 episodes that she can
I
now just
think
kind of just play Survivor, and it doesn't have to be about anything else but just playing. You know.
I don't think I see a path to the end for her yet. I do still think that she's someone who doesn't make the end, because we're going to get a lot of this growth and a lot of this story about her growing and growing and growing, and I think it's setting us up to feel like I was wanting her to get out, but now I don't want her to get out, and then she's going to get out, and it's going to be really tough. I mean, it's sort of kind of like I would call it the opposite of like Leanna, we were all like, oh my God, Leanna is just such a wonderful person. Like I can't wait to watch her kind of like go so far in this game. By the end, we were like, Leanna should go home. Leanna should leave. She's not doing a great job at the game. And I think that Emily is going to kind of be the opposite of that. Am I looking forward to watching that? No.
Oh man.
But again, I think what I like is that I like that there is an opportunity for somebody else to be a villain. Again, it's a very cool idea to have her like be the obvious villain out front, and then to have Caleb kind of like take over as the villain because he has subdued the original villain. I think that's a really cool storyline that we might get to see.
Mhm.
It will be interesting. The other thing is like between these two tribes, I mean, Caleb and Emily can, they're very well connected with one another. You have, Kendra and Jake who are close. Now Kelly and Jake are kind of in this situation where they've got to be close. A lot of these, Julie and Dee, like figuring out where in this game, like what move. This is that part of the game where like we're getting close enough to merge that people have to ask like, what are not just good moves to make now, like for tribe strength or something like that. And this is sort of what we saw with like the Sifu thing, but like what are good moves to like, you look at like the Bello. You look at the new Bello tribe where it's got Drew and Brando, who are like the exact same stereotype. And if I'm Drew, I'm going only one nerd this time.
Right.
Like,
And even
only
Emily's
one.
kind of a nerd too.
Well, and he's
Yeah.
like, all right, only one clearly nerd with glasses on this tribe, because the more people who look like you, the more people are looking at you. You know what I mean? So I think that at the end of the day, the cool thing will be kind of seeing like, I really don't think this is really bad. I mean, maybe it's a ranking spoiler, but like I don't think anyone except for Reba's going back to tribal.
I agree.
It's
I
gonna
have someone in
take.
the bottom spot from Bello just in case. I think Lulu is
Yeah,
completely fine though.
I think Lulu. I think Lulu's fine. I put one in the bottom for all of them because I
Yeah,
think it's
just for
just the
scoring
easiest thing to
purposes.
do.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, I just even in a puzzle scenario, like I think that there's just no way. You know what I mean? And
Right.
it's really unfortunate because I think that as a tribe, I don't want to just see them all kind of like disappear. But the fact that they were willing to get rid of probably their strongest competitor does not speak well on what's going to happen.
Right. And
Because
it's
I
very
just
interesting. Yeah, because we talked even with Austin and Ingrid, like who the winner contenders are. And I think I'll just pull up our fantasy draft. This is from last week, so I haven't updated the scores yet because I'm waiting to find out what we all agree. Is it a quit? Is it not? Katora was a big person that people were talking about as a winner pick, but I think even in just one episode, just her feuding with Bruce, it comes across as like that's very one-dimensional storytelling. Same with like even like Dee and Julie, who are very high, are now on this tribe where they want to get rid of their guy Sifu, the strong guy. So I think we're even seeing some people that we originally saw as winner picks kind of not necessarily making the most optimal moves. And I think D is going to be the most interesting one to watch, because I was on board with Ingrid's thoughts of her potentially being
I
a winner
agree.
pick. But I think
Yes.
this tribe swap is really going to show, especially how she goes with this, because she was ready to go Sifu. She wrote down Sifu's name. I really want to see how she recovers from that, but also like, is she able to then kind of maneuver her way through the game with less numbers? Maybe it'll help her if her and Julie are the last ones left and J Maya and Sifu go next back to back, because then they can kind of just link back up with Drew and Austin. Then you get Emily, you get Caleb, and then boom, that's your 6. Like that could happen. I think it'll be very interesting for her specifically, because Dee and Julie were in the best position, I think, on their tribe, and now are in still the best position of their tribe, but on a tribe that is a very close and speedily sinking ship.
And you and I mean, we're Peridium fans, and if you don't want Peridium spoilers, 3, 2, 1. Did you leave? Okay, goodbye. I'm gonna spoil it, right? He just put out his contenders. We
for
lost
Soul 4
Survivor.
Viewers while you did that, so I guess there are some Peridium fans.
Do we really?
Yeah, no, it's okay. They'll come back.
That's right. Come back in a second. But if you watch Peridium's videos, he, his 4 contenders are Emily, who's the other one that's not Katurah, the 2 I'm going to say. Dee, Katurah. Well, that's fine. Emily, Katurah, Dee, and Julie. And of those 4, 3 of them have put themselves in probably a worse scenario by being like, and sometimes you just get, you get tribe fucked. That's, or not tribe fucked, swap fucked. Mm-hmm. It's one of those things that like you can't control how you get swapped. Right. But in this scenario, like being willing to get rid of Sifu is not a great option if you want to walk and emerge with like your numbers pretty strong. Mm-hmm. Being, going after one specific person and being so vocal about it is not a great strategy when you're trying to figure out where your relationships lie with people, especially considering you're there with 3 other people from your initial tribe, where you never had to go to tribal, and you still won't have to probably go to tribal unless something like pretty big happens. But even then, like, you don't control the majority yet. You have to make sure that you have the majority before you start throwing out a big name. And I think that, like, it's blunders made that on an initial tribe, like they knew they were probably never going to tribal over original Lulu. So then you get put into a situation where you could possibly go to tribal, and you say like, all right, well, if we're going to potentially go to tribal, like I got to start like sowing seeds and stuff like that. And now the thing that I think will actually be probably the biggest detriment to Katurah is that because they will not probably have to go to tribal, all they will have time to do is think. And the more you think, the more time people are given to think of Survivor, the dangerous it is sometimes. Yeah. Because
the question, but also Caleb could end up going that way, because he seemed excited. The fact that Katurah was targeting Bruce, he almost kind of like lit up. He had that confessional where he was like, now I get to finally play the game. So maybe there is a chance where Caleb does float over, and then they were able to pull over like Kelly or something to get one on Jake and Bruce. I'm not sure. But let's get into these rankings just so we can kind of like sort out where we legitimately think these tribes are going if they go to tribal. We think we both know that Reba's going to go to tribal again, but just in case they don't, because Sifu did stay, so they could still win a challenge. Who knows? This was our last ranking. Last week, Sabaya we had at the bottom spot, and this week we had Sean at the bottom spot. So we're still 9 points apart because of the Hannah and Brandon vote outs. But that was our last one. Sean was our bottom spots. But Sifu, if Sifu had gone home, I would have taken another 3-point lead, because I did have him all the way at 12. You had him at 9. But but that didn't work out. Sean did go home as we predicted, not on the terms we definitely necessarily predicted him to go. And really quickly before we get into them, let's look at this one more time. Everyone at the top are just the 5 Bello and 5 Lulu that won their tribal and survived 2 days, so they're just getting 4 points. None of the idols were found. J Maya and Julie, they didn't win the challenge, but they survived 2 days. Dee and Sifu also survived 2 days, but because they got a vote against each of them, they lost a point, so they only got 1 point. And then Sean gets nothing because he had survived 2 days. He did have the episode title, but then he also had 3 votes against him. So The only one not getting any points is Sean, but everyone else is getting at least 1 point, some up to 4. But not a very eventful day for fantasy. Let's transition into our rankings now. As we always reiterate, we are ranking these from safest to least safe. So it doesn't matter how much we think they're going to win the game, even though my number one is someone I really think can win the game. And I'll just say it right now, it's Emily. Just because I really
That's
genuinely...
so wild.
I don't think she goes home, though. I think she's the safest person on that tribe, because there could even be a world where she's swayed by Kendra and Brando. The problem is I don't think Brando and Kendra are as active of players as Austin and Drew. I think she's going to side with Austin and Drew, which is why I have Drew at 2 and Austin at 3. So I'll just rattle those first 3 off, because I think Emily, while she doesn't have as much protection as Drew has the advantages. Austin has the idol. But Austin also is going to risk his vote to make it a merge idol. But Drew can also make sure he gets that vote back. The 3 of them are just so well armed. They have so much in their arsenal. But I still think Emily has the control there, to where Drew and Austin are still at the mercy of her. So they still have to put the faith in her that she's going to repay the favor. And I genuinely think they're going to schmooze her ass until she shows that. So, and I don't think they're going to tribal anyway. But if they do, I still think Emily's in complete control there. And I think Drew and Austin are safe as well. But I'd love to hear, Zach, who do you have at the top as the safest person headed into next
week? It's just so funny, because I really am like, well,
you don't have to put Emily just because I said it.
No, it's not much different than yours. At number 1, you just said you're 3.
I said 1, 2, 3, so you can.
I'll give you 1, 2, 3. I mean, number 1 is Drew, number 2 is Austin. It's no different. I think that they are so well situated up until this merge.
Is that what you just recently had as well, or you had? I
had Drew and Katura.
Okay, so awesome.
But I think Drew stays so high up because he's got that safety without power. So if he really doesn't feel good, he can just get the hell out of there.
Yeah,
and that's and the thing is, Austin is so quintessential to them remaining strong that I think it's impossible to want to get rid of him, at least for another vote. I think the closer we get to 12, the harder it's going to be to like willingly keep Austin around. But Austin does have the ability to risk his vote for an idol. He will be able to be safe if he really wants to be. And then Caleb being a 3 is really not where I thought I'd end up putting him. But the reason he's there is truly and honestly because
you had him at 14.
I think, and you know what, I had him there because this was a really big weekend to figure, or the big weekend. It's a really big episode to figure out kind of how he felt on that tribe. But being that he is so well ingrained, and it really does seem like it's going to be a Bruce versus Katura sort of thing. I don't think he's going to be anyone's vote. I think people are either going to get annoyed with Katura or they're going to get on board and want to vote out Bruce. And so Caleb were like right there, which is why then following him.
Yeah, I was going to say, I have Caleb at 5 for those reasons. I just have someone right above him just because I like their position a little bit better. But who's your number 4?
Right at 4, and then I'll actually even just tell you 5 are Kelly and Jake for the same exact reasons, right? Okay. Kelly and Jake and Caleb make a perfect 3 to be able to do exactly what they want, and I think that's going to be huge.
Okay, we're going to be flying through these because my 4 is Kelly, because I just think Kelly, despite not really being in the person calling the shots because she doesn't need to be, they gave her way too many confessionals for someone who's just skating by. Like, I think she's going to be an endgame player. Is she going to win? I hope so, because she's my preseason winner pick. But like, I really genuinely think she's getting great.
I think she's doing great. Yes.
I think a lot of people have been saying that D is kind of filling the spot of someone who is not necessarily quintessential for the episode, but getting the confessionals anyway. But this episode, we needed D to get confessionals because she was on the losing tribe. But I think now Kelly's filling that slot of someone who is totally safe, but is still getting the confessional. So I think Kelly's great. And at 5, I have Caleb, and then 6, I have Jake, because I think Jake is also in a good spot.
Hilarious.
Even though I don't know 6. The preview is teasing Jake having a breakdown of some sort. I hope he's not having another seizure. I'm glad he's okay. Last week was a little scary. Another reason why I think Jake's okay is because they showed that scene between him and Kendra last episode, which makes me think if they're not on the same tribe in the swap, that means they're probably going to get back together at the merge at some point. So I think the 2 of them are okay. I don't have Kendra that high, but like, I do think eventually we're going to see the 2 of them link up again because we got that scene. But who is your number 6?
My number 6 is Emily. That's
okay,
so
we
funny.
got the same top 6.
Our top 6 is just in different orders, which is fine. But again, I can't believe it. I just don't think she's going anywhere. I cannot believe that this girl is not going anywhere. And then at number 7, I have Brando. So Brando, the decision to choose Brando over Kendra, I think Brando holds a little bit more merit on that tribe. He, for me, is the person I debated whether or not him or Kendra go if they go to tribal. I think he's not the one that goes. I think he has a little bit more merit to what they need to have happen. Again, if this was 12, it would be different because I feel like Drew would gun way more for Brando at 12 than he would for Kendra. But being that they maybe don't want to go back before then, I feel like he's probably going to be way more on the train of keeping Brando, getting rid of Kendra.
And if they lose, I know we keep saying Drew, but like Emily's really calling the shots because at that point, I think Drew and Austin say, which one would you prefer go, Brando or Kendra? And then it's up to Emily to be like, do I go after Brando or Kendra? Because I think if Drew's the one who says Brando and Emily doesn't want that, then Emily could just jump on ship and go for Brando and say, oh, Drew's getting out. So I think Drew and Austin are going to do whatever Emily wants. And I agree. I think Emily would be probably more akin to keep Kendra or keep Brando over Kendra. But I'll talk a little bit later because I have them both a little lower. My number 7, and I'll put 8 right after, is Julie and D. Yes, D voted incorrectly, but I think Julie has been amazing this season. I think she's kind of beating that old women stereotype and like really showing that she's got good strategic prowess. Her and D, I think I'm mostly basing it off of last episode because they kind of were shown to be one step ahead of the boys, Austin and Drew. And Austin and Drew have the power in terms of advantages, but I think Julie and D have the longevity that they don't. And I really just think Julie is playing such a fun game to watch. And I think if they go to Tribal again, I think Julie and D are fine. It's really just going to be deciding, do we cut J Maya for strength or do we cut Sifu because we don't trust him? I really don't think either of them are going to go home unless Sifu or J Maya link up. And we know that's not going to happen because J Maya and Sifu do not like each other. So
can I ask you a question? Who's your 9?
My 9's Bruce.
Oh, damn. I was like, we're going to have that.
Brando.
I think
I thought Brando's not up there.
I thought we were going to have the same 1 through 9, which was going to be in different orders.
So is your 8 D or Julie?
My 8 is Julie. My 9 is D.
Right,
and again, that's the same reason. There's nothing to hash over. I put them a little bit lower than Brando because I just think that Brando has more of a shot of not going to Tribal. So there's always less to go wrong.
Yeah.
But I don't think I can, in good conscience, put them lower than that because I just don't think neither of them are the focus. D could be the focus if Sifu really doesn't care that it was J Maya because J Maya is not the one who ended up writing his name down. It was D. That's why she's 9 for me because I think that there is that that option for Sifu to be like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's get rid of D. I'm tired of it. But again, I think that Sifu doesn't control the vote.
No.
Sifu and the thing is, if Sifu and J Maya team up and they go for D, and D and Julie team up and they go for one of them, what are they going to do? Because then they tie again and then they go to Rocks. Like that's...
And at 4, I think they would... I think the policy is if it's 4 people and they tie again, I don't even think they go to Rocks. I think the 2 who are in a tie go to Fire, I think.
That's right too.
But either way, I don't think anyone would want to do that. I think J Maya would just be like, J Maya's not going to side with Sifu. I think that's just never going to happen. It's going to be a question of
she's going to pick D and Julie.
Yeah, it's going to be a question of do D and Julie want to just take the shot at Sifu like they were going to, or do they say we really need strength and just go for J Maya? I really don't think there's any world. And right now, J Maya thinks she's with the girls. So honestly, the right strategic move would be getting out Sifu. But do they need to do that for their tribe strength? That's going to be a big question. I think that's what makes it an interesting tribal and not very clear cut. But at 9 and 10, I do have Bruce and Katora. They're the last of my Lulus on my
Interesting.
I know you put one of each at the bottom, and I usually do that. But the thing is, I don't see Lulu losing because Lulu losing. But I do think Bruce and Katora. I don't know which one gets the upper hand. And I really think that's something that's going to come to fruition at the merge. I really think that's what they're setting up. This is the Ellie and Gabler of the season that I think one of them is going to be your merge boot and the other is going to be like someone who goes to like the final episode. Maybe not final 3, but like is in the end game. But I don't think either of them are the next boot only because we really don't know who Lulu is looking at as like that consensus. I think it's because they're going to keep winning. And that's why we spent so much time focusing on like, you know, we got an extra scene after they won the immunity. We usually never visit the winning tribe at their beach, but we saw them, Bruce hiding the flint in his pants. And then we got the first ever in Survivor history, wordless, inaudible confessional, which was just Katura staring at the camera and making a smirk. And that is the first time ever that there's been a confessional with no words in Survivor. So I think they're just really milking that as much as they can, but I don't see either of them going. So that's my 9 and 10. Who's your number 10, Zach?
So number 10 is Kendra for me. And Kendra, she's I bent the truth a little bit because I don't have one of each in the bottom. I have the bottom kind of divided. So I do have a Bello at 10, my two Lulus at 11 and 12, and then my two Rebas at 13, 14.
Gotcha.
And honestly, Kendra only stands higher than that because I feel like point wise, it just makes the most sense. Like there's only one of her, and I just don't think that they're going to go to tribal. And my big thing is, and I'll let this actually go a little bit into talking about Katurah and Bruce, if you're okay with that.
Yeah. Are they your 11 and 12?
They are my 11 and 12, with Bruce at 11 and Katurah at 12. I see a world, and so we've been talking a little bit, and this is something I've been keeping a little close to my chest still. I see a world where, and it's not a probable world, but it is a potential world where Katurah is so fed up with Bruce that she purposefully throws the challenge and sends them to tribal. And you know what? Normally I'd be like, that's a little bit of like with how much they were focusing on it, it seems not out of the realm of possibility that she can do something like that.
My face was more at like, I don't think it's a good idea if she does that though.
No, it's not.
It never works out. I mean,
well, again,
everyone who watches San Juan del Sur knows when you drew Christy that shit, you are gonna go home.
Well, and that's why Katurah is lower than Bruce for me, because first of all, she would have to throw that challenge so well that no one understood that she threw it, or she would have to be able to pin it on Bruce in some way. The thing is, Bruce is not a good liar, and I think because if Bruce literally gets out there and is like, I didn't throw that challenge, they're gonna know, and they're gonna be like, well, I wonder who threw it. And I think that is just one of those things. This is one of those things where, again, it's me kind of covering my bases here because I need a couple of points to help me out. But I think that it would be a really cool, it would be a fucking awesome episode of Survivor to watch Katurah actively decide to throw the challenge and then the last time we saw that was when we saw someone try to throw the challenge. They tried to throw the friggin' Deshaun tried to throw the challenge to get out Nasir, and Nasir
wasn't it to get out Erica, but then Nasir won it by accident?
Oh yes, it was to get out Erica, and then Nasir absolutely destroys it and just
Nasir
does it almost single-handedly.
And then Deshaun's like, well, shit, and then she went on to win the season. So,
and you know what? And that's the thing, right? It would be a really cool moment to kind of watch that happen. I would love to see it now on the flip side, where she throws it, the throw succeeds, and then it kind of just everything starts blowing up. Cool. So that's why they're sitting at. Kendra sits a little bit higher than them because I just don't think there's any reason for anyone on Bello to do that right now. Kendra only goes home because I think she sits in the worst position with like someone like Emily, and like you said, Emily kind of is calling the shots.
We'll talk about Brando in a sec because I have him a little lower, but I think of that tribe, Kendra and Brando really got the most swap screwed because Kendra had a good thing going with the girls. I think the girls, no one really wanted Kendra out on her tribe, and she had a good thing with Jake going, as we saw in the last episode. After his seizure, they really bonded. And then Brando was known to be the swing on that tribe. I think they went from being really well positioned to now Bello fighting for Emily
being in a really difficult decision.
And it really sucks because like there's always one or two. Every time there's a swap, there's always one or two people who get screwed. I'm worried it's Kendra and or Brando. So I have Kendra at 11 for those reasons. She's not my lowest. But I think it is either Kendra or Brando if they lose, and I just don't see Lulu losing. So between Bello and Reba, if Bello does go to tribal, it's going to be Kendra or Brando, I think, because I just don't see a world where Drew, Austin, or Emily go.
No.
So that's why Kendra's that low. And your 12 is Katurah, so I'll do my 12, which is J Maya. Just because I really do think based on tonight, if you lose again, I know it's like we got to keep strength, but at this point, J Maya still trusts those two girls, Sifu does not, and at that point you kind of just got to cut your losses and hope for a miracle, kind of what Lulu was doing getting out Sabaya. It's like, does it make sense to get rid of Sabaya, who's really good in challenges? No, but like she's running things, and like if we get her out now, we'll try to recover, and they got to swap out of it. So there's a world where they keep losing, they get out Sifu next, and they're like, we're fucked, and then they swap again, or they merge, and the merges come at 13 sometimes. So really, I think Julie and D feel better with J Maya going to the merge than they do Sifu. And I think, yes, they could lose again, and if that comes, then she's your genie. She goes out right before the merge, and then Julie and D are your Shannon Ricard. Like if you lose again, you get J Maya out then. But this round, why go for J Maya when you have Sifu there as someone who is now distrusting because of that extra vote? The only reason I could see maybe D flips to join Sifu, because if she's like, you know what, Sifu's now mad at me because I placed that vote, you know what, F you, Julie. F you, J Maya. There could be a world where D flips on both of them and takes Sifu. There could be a world. I don't see it happening, but I do think J Maya is still safer than Sifu at this moment. Things could change, but I know tribe strength, it makes much more sense to keep Sifu than J Maya, but I do think loyalty-wise, and that seems to be the game D and Julie want to play, at least what they showed today. So I think J Maya.
Unfortunately, I'm inclined to agree with you, and that's why she's 13.
Oh, so we both have the same 14 because my 13's Brando.
Again.
My 13's Brando only because if they lose, I really do think Kendra is going to be safe over Brando. I just have that feeling because we saw Kendra and Jake's combo that they're going to make the merge together. Whereas Brando's been kind of invisible the past few episodes. He's been there, but he's been kind of like not getting a lot of content, which makes me think he's just kind of unnecessary to the overall season story, especially now that they swapped and he's kind of in a bad position. But yeah, my 14 is also Sifu, just because right now that's what the numbers are.
It's the safe idea.
If Sean doesn't quit, I think Sifu is going home because D did write that name down. If D voted for Sean, I might have been like, maybe that was an editing trick. But the fact that D went through and voted Sifu means that that was the plan. Right. So I'm inclined to believe it's still going to be the plan, but I don't know. Any words on your 14?
I got nothing. I really don't want Sifu to go home because he's on my goddamn team. But like, I feel like. But
look at who you still have, though. I mean, you have Austin and Kelly, who I think
I have some really strong heavy hitters for the later part of the game that I think are going to start really like. I think that Kelly has the opportunity to find an idol. Austin already has an idol, and I think that if he plays it well, we're going to get some 5-point. We're going to get a nice 5-pointer. I mean, there's a world where Sifu decides to take a shot in the dark. There's a million and one different things that he can do.
I forgot about that. Like, because Sifu, now that he knows his name is out there, could very well play a shot in the dark next episode. Well, and with 4 people, that's a 1-in-4 shot because there's only going to be 4 in the urn, I think. I mean, you have a 25% shot of staying. I would do it. And then goes home. Then you know what happens. Then it's 3 votes Sifu does not count. They would revote and vote out J Maya. So J Maya,
because that's all they would have to do.
I might put J Maya. No, I'm not going to put her at 14. But that is interesting to think about. But
yeah. So. I mean, and I think it's really interesting. I will say I'm really glad that we got a swap this season because I feel like the lack of swaps has been a little bit because it's pretty easy to read the game, all things considered. I mean, right now, I say that as we've had the same like last place for the last last standing for the last 3 weeks, but that is because in this first, we had Lulu go to tribal 4 times in a row. 3 times in a row. It was easy to tell who's at the bottom, especially given the previews, because it's kind of like one of those things where you're able to tell from the preview. Okay,
and even Sabaya, like she was not at the bottom of that tribe, but we kind of the editing foreshadowed that Caleb and Emily would be a thing, and that's why we both had the intuition to put Sabaya last. Like I think next episode, if Sifu goes, it's like, all right, that's kind of as we predicted, but I think any other boot would be interesting. And even Sifu going home, I think it would still be interesting because you are still getting rid of your strongest person and you're getting rid of someone that was, and this is one of the questions I had in this episode was like, why are they not showing him more? Just because like, I feel like we're now starting to get more of him, but it's like, if he goes pre-merge, like if I was an editor, I would use every second to show Sifu's giant personality, which they have been doing in the premiere, and they did a little bit in this episode. But I feel like episode 2 and 3, Sifu is barely an entity. So it's going to be interesting to see if they continue to give him these big edits, or if he's just going to kind of fizzle out. I don't know.
And I think there's a world where like because we're not getting a lot of Sifu content, that means there's still a lot more to come. So we're going to be seeing more of him, and maybe that is why. And this was the episode we started getting a lot of J Maya, and we might be running out of J Maya content, which would have a lot of egg on my face because she was my second place preseason. But that was a terrible read. I have better Big Brother reads.
But hey, if they end up winning, I mean, anyone can win a challenge, right? And if it comes down to the challenge, what if they do win the next one and then it's just 5 to 4 to 4 in terms of a split, and then all they have to do is go to one tribal, get out Sifu. If they're able to win one challenge, then they only have to go to one more tribal. Then really,
and then Sifu is the easiest boot.
And if J Maya does go to the merge, I don't see J Maya being an early boot in the merge just because it's like, why get rid of J Maya so early? Unless it was like a Justine thing where it's like you just get, or Janine or Justine. I always get the two confused, but where it's just like, early
Janine
merge boot. Like I really think why did they put a Justine and Janine on the same season? I don't know, but like just like the
Oh
one
my
of
God,
those
they really did do that.
early merge boots, like I really just think like she could sail through to like, and I don't think she would win the game, but she could be a final tribal loser,
Right.
just because I think she is someone who can float by. I don't know. Let's quickly just show the charts for the other shows and then transition to some Big Brother talk. Amazing Race. We got they said they were going to do non-elimination legs, so instead they did a You're Still Racing leg, which is pretty much a non-elimination leg. So nothing changes here. We're only literally I'm 1 point ahead of Zach because because my placement of 6th for the girls was closer to 12 than 5th. I was trying to read that. And then Dancing with the Stars, because the way we scored is a little weird. Neither of us did too hot. We kind of both put Tyson and Adrian pretty high.
Too high.
But you put Tyson a little higher, so you're 3 points behind me there. But that's okay, because I think there's a lot of stuff that'll go on there. We'll have to do it just a day where we talk dancing, because it's just so hard to fit into our normally scheduled programming. Golden Bachelor is amazing. Bachelor in Paradise is great. A girl is literally about to have a poop baby delivered because she is constipated. It is amazing. But let's talk about Big Brother, because this has been the biggest like alley-oop for any player. This is the most powerful, and we're transitioning into Big Brother talk. Matt, I know Matt was on here earlier. He said he'll be back to watch the replay after he's watched Survivor, because he hasn't. That's why he didn't stick around. But he can't stick around because he hasn't watched Survivor. But he's stopping and saying hi. Developments on Tuesday's Big Brother. I don't want to talk about it. Cries in Quarter. Matt is a big Corey stan. So
I'm also a big Corey stan.
Yeah, I'm sorry, man.
This is well. There is a world where he saves himself this week. I think it's very tough. But
let me continue though what I was about to say earlier, though, in the fact that production basically gave an alley-oop, and I love this twist. The invisible HOH gave an alley-oop to a player, because now you get to play in back-to-back HOHs. You get no blood on your hands. But of course, and this is the best twist ever, if it doesn't land in the hand of someone who cannot keep his mouth shut. And I love Jag as a person. I think he's entertaining. I legitimately think him and Matt have been playing really well.
Yeah, they're playing well. They're playing great. But this week,
and it comes down to jury management. I don't think Jag has made anyone really angry, but it almost kind of comes across as like he's almost not cutthroat enough to where he needed to cover his bases. And by telling people he was the secret HOH, he has now exposed the fact that he's going after the showmance rather than, and spoiler alert, we didn't see on the veto episode him use the veto, but I can tell you right now from the live feeds, he does end up using the veto, and Corey and America are on the block. But it's like, I just, literally all he had to do is not tell anyone, and maybe only tell Matt, and then nominate America and Corey from the start, and then all the blood is off your hands. The thing is, you put up first Blue as a target, which doesn't make any sense, because why should she be a target? Why do you waste this opportunity to get out Blue when, yes, I think she's playing a good game, but it's like she's not an immediate threat like Corey and America are.
Right.
And then now that you've already revealed to Corey and America that you're the secret HOH, now you shouldn't nominate them, because now you're going to get blood on your hands.
You should not nominate them.
That whole thing with the secret HOH is it gives you the power to make nominations and send out a big threat without anyone knowing you did it, and then at the end being able to claim it. And that is where I wish anyone else had gotten that power. What are your thoughts on this whole secret HOH thing? And do you think Jag, because Jag is saying he's using it to build social capital and tell as many people so he can build trust. Do you see that side, or are you as frustrated?
No, man. No, man. Listen, if this was, so let's say that this was Bowie Jane, right? Bowie Jane is the invisible HOH. Bowie Jane hasn't done a lot. Getting out Cameron is a big move, or it would have been a big move
if she had thought of it
first time, or the second time,
right?
Or the third time, or the fourth time. You know what I mean? Like it's not really a big move. So if Bowie Jane wins this invisible HOH and really makes a big point to be like, it's me, and I'm going to make sure that people know what I'm using it for, I think, and she puts up Corey in America. Does it piss a lot of people off? Sure. But at least Bowie Jane now has real estate in the realm that is Big Brother 25. She had a really, really great HOH week. Everything went off without a hitch. She wanted to get Cameron out, albeit she wanted to get Cameron out after, which right. When honestly, what really should have needed to happen was you put Blue up on the block next to Cirie, and you say, you can get rid of Blue if you want, but Cirie's a way bigger of a threat, right? Cam will always be a target. I think that would have been a much better HOH week for her. The problem is Jag who he's trying to build social capital. Sure, my man, you were voted out. You were voted out of the game a couple of weeks ago, and so your social capital
On a 100-day
is
season, it's more
giving
like a couple months ago, but fine.
right a couple weeks ago. You were voted out by majority vote. Your social capital
Unanimous
is
vote.
being a unanimous vote. Your social capital is remaining absolutely silent, building trust with people, making sure that they feel absolutely good with you, making sure that they feel absolutely safe, and that you are their friend and you're there because they were there for you. And then at the end going, I needed to do that because at any point I would have been vulnerable because I'd been voted out before and there was nothing to stop people from doing it again. The problem now is, are you good? The problem now is
Reese.
there is zero reason for a single person to trust Jag. There is zero reason for people to not want Jag out. There is zero reason for people to give Jag any say in what's going on because he's the person who's going to have made the biggest move of the season so far. And the problem is he was too loud about it after being an obvious target early on, sinking back into like the rear view and then being like, just kidding, guys, I'm here, I'm doing a really good job at playing this game. That's why you guys tried to vote me out on a unanimous vote. And my best friend and the most important person in the game to me saved me. By the way, did you realize that we're working together? Me and Matt, we're working together. He saved me with his power. Me and Matt working together. Like
He's too much of a loose cannon, and I really wonder what would have happened because I think everyone but Corey in America takes that shot. I really do. Jag originally wanted Blue out, but I really do think if Matt had won Secret HOH, if Felicia, Suri, or Blue had, they would have gone after Corey America, and they probably would have nominated them at the jump because knowing that it's a Secret HOH, we knew from the beginning that if you can't pick players for the veto if you don't know who the HOH is, because then what if the person who gets picked to sit out is the HOH? You have to have the HOH play the veto. So I very early on said, oh, everyone's playing in this veto. And that was a twist that was revealed, and it was. So if I'm thinking that everyone's playing in the veto anyway, then a backdoor, you don't need to not nominate them because if everyone can play the veto, then a backdoor is useless. So if you nominate Corey in America from the jump, yes, you get blood on your hands, but if no one knows you did it, then they're just wondering, oh, it's probably Felicia or Suri or even Matt or Jag, but at least they don't feel this betrayal of trust. That's the difference. Putting up Corey in America is not the problem. It's a good move, like you said. It's just the fact that they told them, and they were the first people they told. After he told Matt, they told them, like, hey, guess what? We won. We're the Secret HOH. We control the house. And when you do that, then you backstab that. That's what the worry. And he had every power to not even say anything, still win that veto, and still have Blue win that veto. They both use that veto, and then Secret HOH puts up Corey in America. How'd that happen? And it is a backdoor, and it's a big moment. But now you're blindsiding two people, and that's another thing too, is him using that veto to make sure both of them were on the block. That's also sketchy too, because now if they both get voted out before the finale night and you're sitting there, that's two people you burn, not just one. If you put up Corey, there's a chance America's pissed, but America at least respects the gameplay. But you put both of them up, it's a very direct attack after you've already revealed that you're the HOH. And I think it's so
and bad. America. And the thing is, sure, they want to get America out anyway. The problem is Jag is now giving him ammunition to every other player, and especially Jag, come on, man. Suri Fields is in this house. Suri Fields is here. And that's one of those things, right? You see that they go up on the block and immediately Suri is like, this is great. This is great. Not only is it great because Corey's probably leaving, but look at my girl. Look how sad she is. Mama Suri's here. Mama Felicia's here.
For anyone not watching the feeds, Mama Suri, the minute America and Corey got nominated, Corey played it very chill because Corey is very good at keeping it chill to get the heat away from him. America, though, went off on Jag and then got very upset and started crying. Guess who consoled her? Not Corey.
Boom.
Suri.
Boom.
And that is where I know we've had disagreements at times on is she a great Big Brother player? Is she a great Survivor player?
When you leave the door wide open, and how could you expect her to not take the shot, right?
When you can not win a single competition in a season, and that Dr. Will purposely threw.
Oh yeah.
Dan threw some competitions. The thing is, you don't need to win to be a good player in Big Brother. It helps. Jackson Mickey won the game because he was good at comps. Cody Calafiori, same thing. But the thing is, with Suri, she is playing 100% of a social game. And I know some people are saying, well, she hasn't made any moves. She hasn't done this. But look
She
at
doesn't
this.
need to. She doesn't need to.
Who is nobody looking at as a target? Not
Dude,
because they think they can beat her, but because they like her and don't see any reason to target her because they
you do
trust
not need you do not need to convince me. Early Suri and the early Big Brother Suri is very different than late game Big Brother Suri. And again, this was something that you and I talked about frequently at the beginning of the season. Was Suri going to be able to adjust to Big Brother? The answer is yes, right? And there was a moment where she wasn't, right? There was a moment, especially, and I can't believe it. I cannot believe it. Izzy and Jared leaving the game was the best thing to happen to Suri because she now has no tether. There's no tether.
Right.
There's no, worrying about Izzy and
Mhm.
her blowing up, managing Jared's moves in the game. I thought that she would leave earlier than them. I thought that they would take Suri out before they took Jared and Izzy out.
It
By
would have been a
not
smarter
taking
move.
out the two, that would have been the smarter move. That's actually the only move. And the thing is, Corey is the only person who noticed it. The problem is you're one person and he knew I can't make a move against Suri because nobody's going to want to make that move. What's going to suck for everybody else is when they're sitting at the end and they're like, oh shit, we didn't get rid of Suri. And that I feel like is her MO of like, guys, why didn't we get rid of Suri? Why didn't we do that? And I
Yeah.
think
And I think
that's
even
going to be the
Corey
big
knows
thing.
that. I think Corey's going to regret that once he gets on the jury because I think it was the same thing with Cameron. Cameron sat on the block with Riley. Cameron sat on the block with Heisem. Cameron sat on the block with Red, but then got off the block. But he also got evicted, came back with Jared. That's whatever. But like Cameron has sat on the block enough times to where you could have gotten him out. And I think in a
Oh,
realistic world, Cameron goes home week 2. I think Riley's still here, and I think
oh,
that's very. I think
100%.
Heisem's still here. I think that's a very interesting trajectory. Whereas like
Oh my
we
God,
originally
Riley.
saw Cameron as this like pawn, but Cameron as soon as from the
No.
pressure cooker on ended up just beasting out. And I
And
think that's just such an interesting thing. Is like you look in retrospect of all the opportunities you had. The difference with Cameron is that he had the opportunity to win his way off the block. Suri hasn't won a competition, so you could
no.
literally have taken a shot at her anytime. They are
And
actively choosing not to, and for that,
right.
I think it's
And
just this Suri mist that she has over her. They call it the
well,
mist because she's actively not doing anything to do it either. She's
no.
just being. And I think that's the biggest superpowers. And in a
Right.
comic week, the biggest superpower is that she's not even trying. Look at Felicia. They had a fight literally a few weeks ago. Her and Felicia had a screaming fight. And it got nasty. But now who is Felicia saying whenever she's talking about strategy? Suri and I, Suri and I, Suri and I. There was not even a conversation really where they were like, I'm sorry, let's be friends, let's make up, I love you, let's make out. It was instead just, oh, now we're tight
Right.
again. Like it was just so easy for her,
Did you say
and I think
make
that's the
out?
power. Yeah, it's a joke. Yeah,
I got you. No, but I mean, I agree with
take
you. I
out the
think
teeth.
I think, ew. I think that, at this moment in time, I mean, and this is the other thing. Everyone's just doing Suri favors. Everyone's doing Jag telling everyone about the invisible HOH. You're doing Suri a favor. Nominating Corey in America. You're doing Suri a favor. Voting out Cameron instead of voting Suri. You're doing Suri a favor. You know what I mean?
Quite
Like,
literally, yeah.
and it's incredible to watch because I don't know how people don't see it. I mean, and again, this is because we're from an audience perspective, but especially knowing that Suri wasn't just like another member of the cast. Suri was the last person in the house, and they walked in and she was pouring drinks. I think that will be the thing that people will, as they walk in, kick themselves about. Suri wasn't just like another person cast on Big Brother. Suri was like the cherry on top of what was supposed to be a crazy season. And she and for us, it was the fact that her son was in there. But for everybody else not knowing that, it should have immediately been the fact that, oh, Survivor legend Suri is here.
Right. Well, because look at a lot of stunt
Why is
casts.
she this?
Paul is probably the only one that has actually capitalized on being the one outlier. Whereas if you look at other seasons, look at 11, Jesse goes out in the coup d'etat. He was in power, but then goes out in the coup d'etat. You look at
Right.
someone like Vanessa's sister when she was on, didn't make it very far.
Tiffany.
Cody's brother,
Aaron,
Paulie, didn't go very far.
not Aaron. Alyssa.
Yeah, right. And I don't want to keep rattling off all these players because I know Matt is watching and I know he hasn't seen all those seasons yet. But like,
Well,
but that thing, like, where if you cast someone because they are the relative of someone or they are a stunt cast, usually they don't really do well. I mean, Paul is the only person I could think of that actually was like brought in as this stunt cast,
and that was
an
on a
interesting
season
scenario.
bad players. And I think that's the thing. This is not a
Yeah.
season with bad players.
No,
And that
I
is
even
very
think
cool.
as much as we discredit her, I think Bowie Jane is a solid Big Brother
Oh
player.
no, she started to show up to play this last couple of weeks.
And
I was
honestly,
like, oh
she's
wow,
been
you're
playing
here.
optimally to where I think she makes Final Four pretty easily
At least,
in any
at least.
and the only reason she wouldn't make the end is if it's like, her and Blue and one other person, or her, Felicia, and one other person. Whereas I think people think she's a harder beat than Felicia or Blue, because also they're not getting our perspective. They're seeing Bowie 24/7, whereas we're only seeing her with what CBS is giving us. So,
and I mean, even you just named Blue. I mean, Blue was someone who, like, you and I both were like, yeah, probably first Boo. We don't know anything about her. And look how, I mean, she plays well. She's not clean as a player, but she's present. And sometimes, and she's just an information bank for people. She has no qualms giving out information, taking in information, going to a different person, laying out kind of what's been spoken. The whole, I mean, like, she's given away so many things about Corey in America, and then has gone back to America, and they've hashed it out. Corey and her have hashed it out. Like, look at the whole thing. Like, her and Jared were like this. Cirie wanted Blue out weeks ago, and now all of a sudden it's Blue and Cirie.
Well,
like,
also,
that is,
I think a lot of Blue's power, and I've really liked watching Blue, especially this week. Just, I mean, I got emotional when she won that veto. She was like crying. I really felt for her, and I think the difference with her and someone like Cameron, I think both of them kind of existed for the same thing of, like, now that my ally's gone, Cameron's being Riley and Red, Blue's being Jared. Once the ally's gone, now I'm just going to cause chaos, make sure it's not me, and throw everything out and put people against each other. The difference is Cameron did it and didn't have the social game to where people still felt an ick by him. Like, there's a reason they didn't show his goodbye messages, because CBS wants him to win America's Favorite Player, and if they show those goodbye messages, they would have ripped him to shreds. Zingbot ripped Cameron to shreds, called him an effing tool. The difference with Blue is that Blue will do the same thing. She will say, you know what, this person's going after you. She'll cause drama and chaos, but Blue has a good enough social game where I think people still like her. Like, I think genuinely people find her fun. They find her pleasant to be around. I've watched
not the audience.
I've watched her BuzzFeed. I like it. I've been watching her BuzzFeed.
Oh, I'm not
videos.
talking about you and I. I'm talking about Twitter.
Right. But I've been watching, like, the BuzzFeed videos that she did a while back where she's, like, trying Korean food and stuff. She's really fun and, like, really fun to talk to. And I really just think we're getting a lot of, like, the turned up, dialed up Blue in the diary rooms is a lot of what America's getting. Not the player America, like us, the viewers, are getting.
Right.
I should keep saying the viewers, not America, but the viewers are getting this perception of Blue as this, like, I'm just Gen Z, kitty purr, all this stuff. And I think it's really downplaying that she's actually, I think, playing a really good social game. I really think everyone in that house, like you said, is a good player. That's what's making Cirie's run even more impressive. Cirie had an advantage of Jared for about a week or two, and then it became a disadvantage. And Izzy, I think, was an advantage. So getting rid of her was a smart move on Cameron. I'll give him that. But I do think the fact that everyone's still feeling that Cirie missed, to where America now is going to start clinging on to Cirie. Matt still loves Cirie. Jag can win another HOH, and I think if Jag wins again, he probably goes after Blue at America before he goes after Cirie again. And I even think Felicia is someone that they're always going to be wanting to target before Cirie. I don't see anyone targeting Cirie except for Bowie, and the odds of Bowie winning another 2 HOHs to make that happen, I don't see that happening.
Nope.
So it's going to be very interesting. Who's your current winner pick right now?
Oh my God, I hate it, but I think it's Cirie.
Yeah,
I can't see a world where I know I just, like, I so vehemently did not want to just pick Cirie because she's Cirie, but, like,
my only worry,
everybody has done her favors. I will tell you, I would love to see, like, a Felicia win, or
that'd be awesome.
Even an America win. I think America is a great player. I love watching her play.
I think that's the difference. I think the opposite of Blue in America is that Twitter, let's say Twitter, doesn't love Blue, loves America. But the difference is that I think in the house, they view America as the easy beat, because they think she's just played Corey's game, which is honestly why Corey going this week could be good for her, because now she can have more agency. It could be like Jeff and Jordan in Big Brother 11, right? Like, Jeff was on the show, Jeff goes out, and then Jordan goes on to win because she just had better social bonds, and the two of them ran the game for so long, and then she ended up getting to kind of reap the benefits of Jeff's game. So I really think there's a world where America could bounce back. But I think in the house, in terms of likelihood to win, I don't think anyone right now wants to vote for Blue, Bowie, or America. And
No.
I don't think even people really want to vote for Felicia. I think people would vote for Suri, would absolutely vote for Matt. I think Jag is burning bridges, but still has the ability to maybe sway them at the end if he can sell his game. But I still think right now Matt and Suri are the big threats, I think, to win. And right now, I'd love to see Matty Fresh win, but
I love Matt. I would like to
Matty
see him win
Ice.
as well.
But I do think there's a world where Matt pulls a Cody and takes Suri to the end and then loses to her. If he's with Jag and Suri and cuts Suri and then takes Jag, I think Matt wins. If Jag cuts Suri and takes Matt, I think Matt wins. So I really think it's going to be a question of once you get to the end game, are they going to take Suri thinking maybe she is an easy beat? Or are they going to take Suri just because they like her? Or are they going to be
Right.
smart and cut Suri before she can make a case? And I'm just, my worry deep down is that Survivor, as Survivor lore has had it, Suri has made it to Final 4 only to lose in fire making. Final 3 only for it to be a surprise Final 2 and she gets cut at 3rd place. Final 6 in Game Changers to where everyone plays an idol except for her.
Everyone plays an idol except for her.
The only time she's ever actually been voted out of this game was because someone played an idol and she got idled out. But even then, she was not voted out with the majority of votes. I really think she's just so unlucky that I have a fear deep down that she's going to get 3rd place in this game. And it's just this thing that's like lingering on my mind. She's going to be Vanessa Russo'd. But hey, if that's her legacy, is that she almost won Survivor 4 times and almost won Big Brother, better than being hated by America and losing Big Brother in a pre-jury like Jared, so I'm fine with that.
I watched that tribal where she gets voted out with no votes the other day for the first time.
So unfortunate.
It's crazy.
It's so
and I think the only time I've ever heard Jeff Probst go, "You want to say it?" Because he knows like this shouldn't have happened to you.
And the tribe didn't even speak. The game did. And
he literally goes, "Your name's not even on there. Your name's not on a single vote here." It doesn't, and him going, "It doesn't matter what the votes say. You're the only one who can get a vote."
Yeah,
and her just being like, and she's not even upset. She's not even upset. She's like,
yeah.
Well,
I just think I know a lot of people have said like, "Oh, it's rigged if she wins," but I really think she's shown.
No,
how can you think it's rigged when you watch?
It's not rigged.
If she was winning,
she doesn't want a single thing.
That's the thing. Is if she was winning competitions left and right, I might have been like, "This is a little fishy," because we know Suri don't win competitions. I don't think she's ever won an individual immunity on Survivor. She's won tribe challenges, but that's different. The thing is, I think if she were to make it to the end without winning a single challenge and still win the game, I don't think how you could call it rigged, because it's like she has literally gone through strictly on her mist and her strategy and her social game, and I think that's such an impressive thing. But I hope she wins.
I'm gonna send this tweet to you.
Oh boy!
Okay. I would like for you to screen share it.
Screen share.
I would like for you to screen share it.
Okay.
Because I think it's the funniest thing I've seen on Twitter all day. And it's sad, and I'm upset I sent it to you.
Don't you just want to screen share it?
Can I do that?
Yeah, can you?
Oh, I guess I can. Oh, is it present?
Present and then share screen.
Oh my God, this is so fun.
Zach, I'm letting you control the recipe. I'm letting you control the kitchen. While he's doing that, let's say our recipe for realities this week. I'm going to give it to Sam from Bachelor in Paradise, who is going to deliver a poop baby tomorrow night. I hope she doesn't get medevac from Bachelor in Paradise. That would be the craziest thing ever to happen. But I really do like her. She was the one who left day 1 of Clayton's season because she just didn't like him. She wasn't digging him. So she decided to come back from Paradise.
It's her.
Her, the redhead. Yeah, not the one who was like in a relationship. Sadie, I think her name was, or whatever. I'll pull up in just a sec after we share our recipes. But I think she was the second person who left, who was just like, yeah, I'm not feeling it. Not the really sad one who went home. So yeah, she has my recipe for reality, because if this is her last week in Paradise, I hope it was worth it. But I hope she's able to finally go to the bathroom. Who's your recipe for reality before I pull this up?
I think it's gonna be Caleb. I think Caleb's playing a hell of a game.
There you go.
I think it's good.
All right,
I can tell you who it's not. It's not Corey Wurtenberger.
Oh my God.
I think this is so funny. Oh, you know what? Listen, I don't want America to go home either, but I hope she can pull it out. I'd like to see an America win. I'd like to see Corey get through this.
Now,
I think if anyone can do it, it is him.
I've been very hit or miss with Corey because I really think he's really good at the game. I think he's just got a great strategic mind. He is very entertaining. The only thing is like I just feel like the past few weeks it's been so showmance driven that it's like it's the same thing that happens with a lot of showmances where it's just like, can we like talk about anything else? But I get it. Like this is exciting for him. The only thing I hate, and I'll tell you right now, the only thing I legitimately hate is that mustache. Literally,
The mustache is horrific.
If he shaved the mustache, I think I would be rooting for him again. Like I really think it's that because he just looks like every kid who thinks he's way cooler than he is. And I know,
so you know what?
Corey's a cool guy, but
he's really cool. We thought he was going to be a weenie, but he's really fun.
He's really
fun. My thing about Corey, and it actually comes right down below the tweet that I just shared. He said he originally thought like he came in with the mindset of like this is a social strategic game and you can only think of that, and he's looking at it now as this opportunity for like personal growth. And I think that that's a really, because you know what, and this is something that in the community of like playing these games online and stuff like that, you know, people this will be Zach's org story for the night. You know, I went out at 9. We're at 7. No, we're at 6 now. And the person voted out at 8. Great guy. His name is Max. And Max and I, you know, Max. The story of my vote out is at 12 we demerged into 2 tribes of 6, and I had the big advantage of the game, which was a vote bumper. And they all tried to vote me out at 6. And the vote bumper, instead of whatever votes you received, it automatically activates, and you get to know who voted for you, which is a really cool advantage. So it take my game of absolutely 100%. But so the last couple of the last couple of tribals and the last couple of days in the game, at that point, I spent kind of on like a manhunt. That was my goal was get rid of the 4 people who voted for me. And then after getting rid of the 4 people who voted for me at 6, I was willing to die on my sword, sit out of the final 6 immunity challenge, vote for myself, and leave the game. And my thought process was one of 2 things. They're either going to vote me out of the game and I'll have decided how I leave, or they're not going to vote me out of the game because I'll have done such a good job at lowering my threat level that I'll walk to the end and then I'll win. Of course, that's not what happens. You know,
so you're either going to be a Sean or a Suri. You're either going to quit and take opportunities away, or you were going to float to the end.
I guess. No. I wasn't going to quit.
I'm kidding.
But my, you know, the one thing that that happened, I got voted out at 9. This guy goes out at 8. Him and I have a very, you know, like long conversation, because again, we're all real people, where in the jury chat, because you get added to a jury chat on Facebook and you kind of talk about game, I said I was never voting for him. There was no shot I was going to vote for him at the end. And that was true. I was not going to vote for him at the end just because of like other things that happened in the game. But what I said, because he felt very personal, like, you know, it was a personal dig. And I said probably the most important thing in the world. Only one person wins. And if you're only playing to win, then you're wasting your time, because the likelihood of winning these games is very small. It's great if you get to the end. It's great if you win. It's great if you get to defend your case. But the likelihood that you win cannot circumvent the necessity to find another reason to play. Especially like, you know, you play Survivor, like you're trying to win $1 million. Big Brother, $750,000, right? But there's money at stake. There are no stakes here. And I think that's kind of what, like, to Corey's thing, right? He came in ready to play the game. He started playing the game. He played the game well, but then he saw an opportunity while playing the game to say, like, I can grow as a person and I can find something, because the likelihood I win, you know, it goes, the odds go bigger every time, but like it will, the in will always decrease. The one won't ever get bigger. It will never become 1. It will never become 2 and 12, 2 and 8. It will always ever be 1, and that those odds are just so small. So I think like the idea,
so why not just,
you know what,
mustache,
Corey Wurtenberger gets my recipe for reality. Yeah. I think he's a great dude. I hope that he stays tomorrow. If he doesn't, and this is where his game ends, then you know what? He had a great run, and
I will tell you, I'd much rather see him stay than America. Well, not because
I agree.
I have a problem with against America, but I think Corey has a better winning chance than America. And I know you just said it's not about the win, but I think logistically, like, I would love to see him navigate.
I would
the
love to
endgame,
see. Listen, I would love to see him win.
I don't know what her game is going to be when he's gone, and I don't want to say it's all been about him, but I really feel like a lot of her strategy has been so tightly bound to him.
I agree.
That I'm interested to see how she'll play without him. Yeah, because I think Blue has been much more interesting without Jared. I think Cerie's been much more interesting without Izzy and Jared. Maybe not more interesting. She was very interesting when she was running the show, but it's just been a different game since.
Yes.
And I think I've liked Cerie a lot before and after Jared's big blow up, but I think it's been great to see her navigate. It'll be great when they probably get out Jag next week, how Matt will navigate on his own. But yeah, it's going to be a really interesting season. I mean, Cameron's out. I can't complain there. And he's the first juror.
Finally.
And you know he's going to watch that tape back and be so mad that it was Corey, not America, who came to the jury house. Because that would have been the worst thing ever if America went to the jury house alone with Cam. Because that's what Cam wanted. Cam wanted to make it to jury just so he could be alone in the jury house with America. And that is disgusting and pervy and gross. But that's the last thing I'll say on that. So that is our recipe for realities for the week. Sam from Bachelor in Paradise and her poop baby, and Corey Wertenberger. So everyone, stay tuned. We'll be back sometime next week to talk about Survivor. I will have seen Zach's show, so I'll let you know what I thought of it, and I'm sure it's going to be amazing. And yeah, we're going to see what happens on this what am I saying? Next swap episode of Survivor, and I will report back if the poop baby's delivered or if she gets medevaced. And I will also talk to Ingrid and Austin, see if they want to award Sean the -5 for a quit or just keep it at a 0. Which either way, you're not getting points, so we might just want to keep it 0 because it was a traditional vote out. But Zach, where can they find you?
Right down there, baby.
That's right. And you can find me right down there, and that we're not talking about hell. We're talking about the words.
Not there.
No,
the screen.
But
All right, get out of
you
here.
can find in hell. You can find